I think an example that I could probably give of someone that's following that pattern is the fighting nerds. You know, you see how well they've been doing in the UFC, how successful all their fighters are doing, how well-rounded all their fighters are. I think that that's kind of like one of the successful paths you can look into, is somebody over there in Brazil that's going to.
And do you have any favorite Brazilian coaches or Brazilian teams that you admire or have a big respect?
Andre Pedneres. Always respected him from the very beginning, and still to this day, super respectful. Great coach.
For a guy that trained so many world champions, what would you say they all have in common?
For me, obviously, everybody has the heart, everybody has the desire, but they all had one thing that a lot of people don't really put much effort into, and that's consistency. They're always there. They're never the ones late. They're never the ones not sparring when they're supposed to. They're never the ones not running when they're supposed to. They're never the ones not sleeping when they're supposed to. They're always the ones that are doing what they were supposed to do. All the champions I've ever trained all had the same characteristic in themselves, and they were consistently there on time. They were consistently there for their sparring. They were consistently there for their training. They didn't miss their times. They were always there.
Of course, a lot of people will read this book, but if you could give any little advice for coaches around the world, what's the path to build champions?
Well, I don't know if there's a path. I just follow your heart, follow your love. You know, what do you love about coaching? And, you know, you can find it from there. I think an example that I could probably give of someone that's following that pattern is the fighting nerds. You know, you see how well they've been doing in the UFC, how successful all their fighters are doing, how well-rounded all their fighters are. I think that that's kind of like one of the successful paths you can look into, is somebody over there in Brazil that's going to be soon. I believe they should be producing some world UFC champions. I believe so. It's just based on what I'm seeing, you know, and how well-rounded these guys are. And I think they have a good mindset over there, and they understand everything. So basically study them, I would say, you know, look into what they're doing, because they seem to be doing the right thing.
And what do you like in particular about them? Because in some way they can train fighters inside the gym, but they are also doing a work as a marketing, you know, and this helps the fighters to become more popular and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what I was talking about here. They call themselves the fighting nerds. They're not nerds. It's just the gimmick that they use, and that's marketing, you know. And they train themselves properly. They're well-rounded. I watched, you know, them guys, and they're good, man. They're real good. And I'm not saying they're going to win every fight. I'm just saying they're very good, and they do it right.
Is there any fighting nerds in particular that you are more curious to see where they go? Right now we have the four more famous: Carlos Prates, Mauricio Ruffi at lightweight, Caio Borralho at middleweight, and Jean Silva at featherweight.
Kyle's the one that I've watched the most. He's the one that I actually feel has the best chance. I mean, he's got real tough division, but he has a real good chance, I think.